So given a relation R with some attributes and some functional dependencies, and you have been told to convert this relation R from first normal form to BCNF. So basically I've explained in the previous lectures and videos how to convert a given relation. If it's invalid in that there's some violation, then how to correct it. Okay, but we have not seen how to take a relation R and convert it all the way from the first normal form to Boyce Codd normal form. Okay, so that's what we'll be seeing in today's lecture. Before we'll take a problem, let's see how to do it. Okay, here suppose you're given a relation R. Okay, so you're basically going to check, you're going to assume it is there in first normal form. Okay, and you're going to start checking from second normal form. So for second normal form, you know the violation. If there's a partial dependency, that means there's a violation. So you'll be checking whether R is having any partial dependency. If it is not having any partial dependency, that means the relation R will be in second normal form, and you will be going to the third normal form to check for any violation of the third normal form. So you know third normal form definition is it has to be in second normal form and there should be no transitive dependency. Okay, so you can check for transitive dependencies by checking for these two conditions in all the functional dependencies. Okay, all the non-trivial functional dependencies, you will be checking that at least one of these conditions holds. That is, left hand side is the super key or right hand side has to be a prime attribute. So if this condition holds, then you're going to claim that R is going to be in tree NF, and you're going to go to check for BCNF. So a relation R will be in BCNF if every, first of all, if it is in third normal form, and second condition is each non-trivial functional dependency X determines Y, the left hand side, that is X, should be a super key. So if these things hold, then you're going to claim that the R is in BCNF. So this is the ideal case wherein you start checking R will be in second normal form. Therefore, you will go to check for third normal form. So it will be in third normal form. Then you will go for the BCNF and it will be BCNF. Okay, this is your ideal. But what to do in case this is not your ideal condition? Okay, ideal case. Okay, that is what we are going to see in today's lecture. How to solve when the given R is violating one of these normal forms, then how to go about solving it. Okay, so let's take one problem and then we'll see how to solve. Okay, now I will not solve each and everything step by step because it will take more than 1 hour. Okay, you will have to know, need to do certain things later on. Okay, if you can manage to solve quickly, it will be good. Okay, as I'm explaining, but if it's not possible, then you will have to solve later on for some of the steps. Okay, so I hope you are sitting with a notebook and pen. So consider this relation R, and with having these functional dependencies, we have been told to convert this relation R from 1NF to BCNF. So we are going to first consider that it is ideal. Okay, we don't know whether it is violating any normal form or not. Okay, so we are going to assume that R is in first normal form. Okay, and then we start checking from second normal form. Before we start checking from second normal form, we need to find out the candidate keys and the prime attributes and non-prime attributes of R. Okay, so you can, using all those methods that I've already previously discussed with you all and taught you all, you need to find the candidate key and prime attributes for R. Okay, once you find a candidate key, you need to check whether that candidate key, there are more candidate keys. Okay, so you can solve on your books. So find the candidate key for R. So like I have already found out a candidate key for R. Okay, the candidate key for R you will be finding is AE. So therefore the prime attributes for that relation R initially will be A and E. Okay, and the non-prime attributes will be all the remaining relations in R which are not mentioned here. Okay, that is which are not A, E will be your non-prime attributes. So which is that B, C, D, F, G and H. Okay, so once you find a candidate key and prime attributes, check if there are more candidate keys. But you will see that there are no more candidate keys. So therefore, you will now go to check whether R is in second normal form. Okay, you are going to assume R is already in first normal form. So if it is in second normal form, there should be no partial dependencies. Okay, so what is partial dependency? We have already discussed, where the proper subset of the candidate key does not determine a non-prime attribute. Okay, so now you're going to check for, after finding out this, the candidate key, you're going to check for partial dependency. That is, we are checking whether R is in second normal form. Okay, so you check each FD, that is each functional dependency, whether there is a partial dependency. So when you find, you check, you will find that there are two functional dependencies. Okay, wherein the proper subset of your candidate key is A and E, right? The proper subset of your candidate key is A and the second proper subset is E. So when you check, you will find that this is violating, this is a partial dependency here. Here there is no proper subset, so this is okay. Here there is no proper subset, so this is fine. Okay, sorry, here there is a proper subset E. Okay, so this is not fine, this is violating, there's a partial dependency. Okay, here there is no proper subset, so this is fine. So these two functional dependencies are proper, but these are having partial dependencies, so we write them down here. The functional dependencies having partial dependencies. So the moment we find a partial dependency, that means we need to correct it, we need to remove the partial dependency. Okay, so now we cannot go to this step. Okay, so this is not an ideal case. Let me go here and show you. So what we have done is, basically we were checking whether R is in second normal form. Okay, and we found partial dependencies, therefore R is not in second normal form. So now we need to remove the partial dependency. Okay, so I hope you all have revised your what I told you to revise. Now to remove the partial dependency, what we need to do is, you need to find the attribute closures. Okay, remove the partial dependencies by considering the functional dependencies that gave that partial dependency. So you will consider these two functional dependencies. A determines BD and E determines FG, because these two functional dependencies from F have partial dependencies. So consider those two. Okay, and remove the partial dependency. When you are removing the partial dependency, first consider the A determines BD functional dependency. Okay, find the attribute closure of A, the left hand side. So when you find the attribute closure, you will find that you are getting the attribute closure of A as A, B, D and C. So all these attributes, you will put them into a set R1. Okay, so you will have R1 as A, B, C and D. Means you can arrange this in alphabetical order like this also, it does not make any difference. Okay, next consider the second functional dependency which was causing a partial dependency in R. So you will get E determines FG. Find the attribute closure of E. So you will get the attribute closure of E as EFG. Okay, please do it and you can check it out also. You will get attribute closure of E as EFG. So put all these attributes of E closure into R2. Okay, so you have got R1, you have got R2. Okay, all the remaining attributes of R which are not there in R1 and R2, you will put in R3. So in R3, therefore, only one attribute remains, H. So A, B, C, D is there here, E, F, G is here, and H is in R3. So now we have managed to remove partial dependencies by doing this. Okay, but before we proceed, we cannot just have just one attribute in R3. Okay, so we need to find a common attribute. Okay, we need to find a common attribute. Now I need to make one correction. I think in the previous video when we were doing this, I taught you there is one correction that I need to make. Okay, so pay careful attention when you're finding this common attribute. So in the previous video when I was teaching you to find a common attribute, I told you that we need to add a common attribute from R1 or R2. Okay, now when you're finding the common attribute, actually the correction is you need to find one common attribute which will be a super key of R1. Okay, you're going to find a common attribute which will be a super key of R1. Okay, any attribute among this A, B, C and D, it has to be a super key of R1. So once you find a super key of R1, you are going to add it as a common attribute to R3. Similarly, from the second relation R2, you need to find a super key from among these three attributes E, F and G. Once you find a super key of R2, you're going to add that as a common attribute to R3. So you need to add one common attribute from here R1. You need to add one common attribute from here R2. Okay, so that means a super key of R2 has to be added to R3. A super key of R1 has to be added to R3. Okay, so one attribute comes from here, one attribute comes from here, and that means R3 will have finally three attributes. Okay, so that is the correction that you need to make. Okay, when you're finding the common attributes. So if there are three sets or three relations R1, R2 and R3, and R3 is just having one attribute, find one common attribute from here R1, find another common attribute from R2 and add both of those to R3. Okay, so like I have explained this previously, I'm not going to do this in detail. So find one super key from R1. So suppose A is that super key from R1, you will add A to R3. Similarly, find one super key from R2 and say that a super key is E. So you are therefore going to add both A and E. A is from R1, E is from R2. Both have to be added to R3. So you will get in R3 the attributes as H, A and E. Okay, so this is how you remove the partial dependencies. Okay, so from R, now the relations are got divided and you are having three relations. Okay, you are having R1 having the attributes A, B, C and D. You are having R2 having the attributes E, F, G, and from R3 you are having the attributes H, A and E. Now since there was a violation in R, okay, in second normal form there was a partial dependency, R has got divided into three sub relations. Okay, R has got divided into three sub relations, which is R1, second one is R2, and you are having the third one as R2. So now henceforth we are not going to consider R. Okay, we are going to consider these three sub relations and we are going to check for this whether it is there from 1NF to BCNF. Okay, now we are going to take these relations and we are going to check. So now if we are going to take R1, R2 and R3 and we are going to check for the normal forms, as you must be already noticed, okay, R1, R2 and R3 need to have their own functional dependencies. Here these functional dependencies that were given in the problem, these functional dependencies were the functional dependencies of R. Okay, these are not the functional dependencies of R1, R2 and R3. So we need to find new functional dependencies for those three sub relations R1, R2 and R3. Okay, how we obtain R1, R2 and R3 I have already explained to you. That we obtained because we were removing the partial dependencies of R. So now let's find out the functional dependencies. So we are going to find three different functional dependencies. Okay, So we are going to find functional dependency F1 for R1, F2 for R2, and F3 for R3. Okay. So let's start finding. So when you're finding the functional dependencies F1, F2, and F3, you need to use the functional dependencies that were originally given to you. Okay. That is F. You need to use this F. Okay. Use this F to find F1, F2, and F3. Okay. So let's first find out the functional dependencies for R1. Okay. So what you're going to do is, in the simple way to find the functional dependencies, take all these attributes that are given in R1. A, okay, find out the A closure for that. Okay. So similarly, you take B, find out the B closure, take C and D and find out the C closure and D closure. Okay. So when you find out this A closure, you will get functional dependencies as A, B, C, and D. Okay, but A causes a trivial functional dependency. Okay, so therefore you're going to discard A from here. So when you discard A, in A closure, what will be left is B, C, and D. Okay, so therefore your first functional dependency will be A determines B, C, D. Okay, A is from your left hand side and BCD is from your right hand side. So you will say A determines BCD. Then take the second attribute, find out the closure for that B. Okay, so you are finding out the closure from here. Okay, so from B you will get B, and from all these attributes from here you will get only C. B determines C. We cannot get anything else, so you will get B and C. Okay, but this B is causing a trivial functional dependency, so we will discard B. When you discard B, from this closure only C remains. Okay, so you will get B determines C. Now take the third attribute C, find out the closure of C. From C closure you get only C. Okay, you cannot get anything else. C is not there on the left hand side, so I cannot get anything else here in the C closure. But C closure, which gives only C, causes a trivial functional dependency. So if I discard this C, okay, nothing else remains. So you discard this closure, nothing else you get from here. Okay. Similarly, you find D closure, which is the fourth attribute. So you get D only. Okay. There's no D on the left hand side of this functional dependencies. So therefore, D closure gives D, but it causes a trivial functional dependency. Discard D. Okay. So when you discard D, nothing else remains in this closure. So don't take anything from here. So therefore, when you find the functional dependencies F1 for R1, only two functional dependencies remain. A determines BCD and B determines C. So therefore, your first functional dependency will be this. Okay. So I hope you all are clear why we are not taking other attributes. Okay. Why we are not taking other attributes? Because R1 contains only these four attributes A, B, C, and D. So we are finding out using only A, B, and C and D the closures. Okay. Now, one more important thing that you need to keep in mind is, here suppose I had one functional dependency like this. Okay, AB, which is a combination. Okay, AB determines something. Okay, I'm just writing. Say AB determines CDE. Okay, then since this AB, okay, this combination, both of them AB are belonging to this R1, you would have to find this closure, AB closure. Okay, you would have to find AB closure, because this left hand side in this functional dependency F, okay, is belonging to this, sorry, not here, here is belonging to R1. Both the attributes are belonging to R1. Okay, so therefore you would have to find the closure of AB, and then whatever closure you find you discard, and then maybe you would have considered that in F1. Okay, please keep that in mind. Here, now if you look at any combination, There's nothing like it remains. Okay, I cannot find any combination that I will take out of these attributes A, B, C and D. Okay, here there's just one A, here there's just one attribute B, here there's E is there, which is not belonging to R1, and here there is AE. E is again not belonging to R1, so I will not find AE closure. Okay, I will not find AE closure, but instead of E, suppose I had B. Okay, or I had C, or I had D, I had AB, or I had AC, or I had AD, then I would have to find that combination closure. Okay, please keep that in mind. So similarly, you need to find out the functional dependencies. So now this was the functional dependencies for R1. Okay, you need to find out the functional dependencies for R2. Okay, so you will, when you're finding the functional dependency for R2, again you're going to consider this F. Okay, you're going to find E closure using F. So you start finding E closure. Okay, so when you find out E closure, again you will get E, F and G using this. Okay, you can check. So again, E is causing trivial functional dependency, discard that, so you will get only E closure gives F and G. So your first functional dependency will be E determines FG. E is from the left hand side, FG is from the right hand side. Okay, next closure you will find is F. F closure gives only F because there is no F here on the left hand side. Okay, but it's a trivial functional dependency, so when you discard this, nothing else remains in F closure, so you discard this entire thing. Okay, similarly G closure gives only G. Okay, you can see here G is not there on the left hand side, so therefore you can discard G. When you discard this, you get only one functional dependency for R2, that is E determines FG. Okay, so that will be your F2. So this is the set of functional dependencies for R2, F2. So that is the way you will find the functional dependencies for F2. Can you all find out for R3 the functional dependencies? Please find out for R3. If you have understood what I am telling you, please find out the functional dependency for R3. This is the R3. Okay, this is the R3 and this is F. Can you tell me what are the functional dependencies for R3? And also, if you are having any doubts, let me know so that I can explain to you till now what I have in the solution. If you are having any doubts, can you find and tell me what will be the functional dependency for R3? First, find out AH closure. Okay, A closure, E closure. Also look if there are any combinations of these attributes in these functional dependencies, then you need to find out that closure also. When I say combinations, they should be appearing on the left hand side here. Okay, on the left hand side, the combination should appear on the left hand side. Can you write the answer in the chat box? Whoever is, are you all able to find out? Anyone? Yes, anyone can tell me the answer? Correct. You will get only one functional dependency like Yash and Sabi has already found. Okay. I hope the others are able to find. Okay. So let me explain how we get for R3. Okay. So you are having three attributes R3. Okay. For R3, A, E and H. So you're basically first you're going to try to find the attribute closures for this. Okay. Using the single attribute. Find out the A closure. Okay. So when you find out the A closure, you will get A, B, C and D. Okay. Now, when you find out the A closure, since A is closing a trivial functional dependency, you will discard A. Okay. So you will remove A from here because it's a trivial functional dependency. Now, when you check, B, C and D are not part of R3. Okay. B, C and D are not part of R3. These are not part of R3. So you're going to discard all of this since they are not part of R3. They're not part of R3, so there is no point in keeping them. Okay. So A closure we cannot take. Find out E closure. Okay. So when you find out E closure, okay, you will get E, F and G. Now we are finding this closure using F. Okay. We are finding this closure using F. You will get E, F, G. Okay. E is causing trivial functional dependency. Remove it. Okay. So what remains is F and G. But F and G are not part of this R tree. So you are going to discard that also. Okay. So when you discard this, that closure is also gone. Next you find out H closure. When you find out H closure, you get only H. Okay. Nothing else is there. So it's causing trivial functional dependency. Discard that also. Okay. Now what is remaining is check whether any combinations are possible. Okay. So when you check for combinations here, A, E and H, you will see that the combinations that are possible is, okay, in the combinations you are having, you can just rub this. So when you're finding these combinations, okay, there's a combination here that appears is AE. Okay, a combination of these three attributes that appears. Since the single attribute closures are not valid, we are looking at combinations. Okay, there is only one combination that appears on the left hand side. Okay, here there were single attributes A and E, and there's only one valid combination that appears is AE. So when you find out the attribute closure of AE, you will get AE and H. But AE is trivial. So what remains is only H. Therefore, this R3 will have just one functional dependency, which is AE determines H. Okay, just like Shavi and Yash has got. Okay, so I hope you have understood why we are discarding this. We are getting here A closure B, C and D. It makes no sense of having this functional dependency because B, C and D are not part here. Okay. Similarly, we get functional dependency here. E determines FG. FG and are not part here, so discard this. Okay. H closure is just trivial functional dependency, so you discard that. So once you are done with these individual attributes, find the combinations in here in F. Okay. So I hope you have understood how to do that. So for R3 we get F3, the third functional dependency, which is A determines H. Okay. So here we were checking R. Let's just go. We were checking R for second normal form. We found partial dependency. So because we found partial dependency, we removed partial dependency. So we got R1, R2 and R3. Okay. So for R1 and R2 and R3, then if you want to proceed further, you need to find the new functional dependencies for R1 and R2 and R3. So we have done that also. Okay. So now once we have found that new functional dependencies, Using that, we need to find new candidate keys for R1, R2 and R3. Can you try to find out the new candidate keys for R1, R2 and R3? Can you try to find out for R1? You're going to find out the new candidate key for R1 using F1. So this is your R1 and this is your F1. Can you try to find out the candidate key for R1? Similarly, you will have to take R2 and F2. Okay, this is your R2 here. This is your F2 here. Find new candidate key for R2 using F2. First, find out the candidate key for R1 using F1. So can you quickly find out and tell me the answer? Yes, Ruthvi, it's A. Correct. It's A. Okay. Find out for R2. Find out for R2. So for R2, you're going to find out using F2. It's pretty obvious. There's only one functional dependency. Yes, there's only one functional dependency, so it's pretty obvious that which will be a candidate key. It will be E. Okay. So can you find out for R3 similarly? Yes, it will be AE. Okay, it will be AE. So the others you can find it out. Okay, you can find it out. So for R1, it is the candidate key is A. Okay, so you are using F1. Okay, I've written here for you all. I'll be sharing this PDF, so you can check. For F2, for R2, you're going to use F2 and find a candidate key, so you'll get E. For R3, you're going to use F3 and get the candidate key, so you're going to get AE. Okay. Now, once you have found these candidate keys for R1, R2, and R3, we can proceed to check for whether R1, R2, and R3 are in second normal form. Okay, we are going to go back now here like this. Now we're going to take R1, we're going to check whether it's in second normal form. Then if it's in second normal form, we'll go to check for third normal form. Then we go to check for BCNF. Like that, you will take R2, then you will take R3. Okay. So like that, you need to keep repeating this till finally all those relations, the sub relations are in BCNF. Okay. So now there's once you have found this R1, R2 and R3, you have found out the functional dependencies and you have found out the candidate key. Okay. You need to go step by step like this. Actually, you need to go step by step. Check for second normal form, then check for third normal form, then check for BCNF. But there's one trick involved here, and you can use that trick in your exams. Okay, that I'm calling as a BCNF cheat, but it's not a cheat. It's actually the definition of BCNF. Okay, so what your definition of BCNF says is, okay, you can look here. For a relation R to be in BCNF, first of all, it has to be in third normal form. Okay, so we can assume that it is in third normal form. But you look at a second condition. What the second condition says, each non-trivial functional dependency X determines Y, X should be a super key. Okay, X should be a super key. So we will take advantage of this condition. And if the functional dependency is given and we can prove that X is a super key, every functional dependency of R, if we can prove that X is a super key, then we will claim directly that R is in BCNF. Okay, we're not going to check these two conditions. Got it? That's why I'm calling it as a BCNF cheat. Okay, so basically it's not a cheat, it's the definition itself. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to take one relation R, we are going to check the non-trivial functional dependencies. So all the the important thing is each functional dependency, each non-trivial functional dependency, X should be a super key. That is, your left hand side should be a super key. So let's look at this. Okay, let's look at R2 first. Okay, let's take R2. So let's take R2 here. What is R2 here? This R2. Okay, which is having attributes E, F, G, and there is this only one functional dependency. E determines F, G. Okay. Now we have found out that for this R2, E is the candidate key. Okay. Since E is the candidate key, E has to be a super key. So since E is a super key, it satisfies this condition for BCNF. Okay, it satisfies this condition for BCNF. So we are directly going to claim that R2 is in BCNF. Okay, so like I've shown you here, we are going to claim R2 directly is in BCNF. Okay, so you can see also here I've solved. Okay, you can check here. Okay, R2 and the functional dependency. Okay, since the left hand side E is a super key, why we are claiming it's a super key? Because it's a candidate key. Okay, E is already a candidate key, so it has to be a super key. Okay, so therefore I will directly say that R2 is in BCNF. Similarly, you take, now you have to check each one of this. Okay, you need to check all of this whether they are there in this. So I've already found that R2 is in BCNF. Okay, so I'm not going to check again for R2. Okay, I'll take it and keep it in the side. Okay, R2 is already in BCNF. I need to check for R1 and I need to check for R3. Now R1 there's a it is not in BCNF, so I'm checking for R3. Okay, you will not know in advance in the exams, but since I've already solved, I know that R2 is in BCNF and R3 is in BCNF. So I'm showing you these two first and then I'm showing you R1. Okay, so you check now R3. So when you check R3, you will find that here R3. Okay, this is the attributes and this is the functional dependency. The left hand side is a candidate key, so therefore it is already a super key. So therefore I will say that R3 is in BCNF. So among these three sub relations R1, R2 and R3, I found out that these two are already in BCNF, R2 and R3. Okay, so I have also marked here to make it easier for you to understand. I said R2 and R3 is in BCNF. So I'm trying the BCNF cheat. Okay, that is the definition actually. You can call it the BCNF definition actually. Now try the BCNF definition on R1 and you will fail. Okay, you can try that. So let's see here R1. Okay, candidate key is A. Okay, so when you check the left hand side, here the first functional dependency of R1 is proper, it satisfies BCNF. But the second functional dependency, B is not a super key. Okay, B is not a super key, so therefore it fails. It fails. R1 is not in BCNF. Okay, so we again go back to this. I will check whether R1 is in second normal form. Okay, why I'm checking whether R1 will be in second normal form, because when I was checking R is in second normal form, that time I had found that there is a problem in R. Okay, therefore I need to start R1 from here, from second normal form. Okay, so you check whether R1 is having partial dependency or not. So start from there. Okay, so now you check whether R1 is in second normal form. Okay, so you will check for partial dependency using the definition. Okay, using this definition that I've already told you. Okay, proper subset should whether it determines a non-prime attribute. You can check for that. Okay, using this and the prime attributes. Okay, so R1 will be having just 4 attributes: A, B, C and D. Okay, make sure you are taking R1, A, B, C and D. So using that, you find out whether it's having partial dependency or not. Okay, you will find that it is not having any partial dependency. So therefore you need to solve and check. Okay, I'm not doing that. You will find out that R1 is in second normal form. Therefore, now you will take only R1 and go and check whether it's in third normal form. Why are not taking R2 and R3? Because I already found out that R2 and R3 is in BCNF. Okay, so check whether R1 is in third normal form. So you are going to check for whether it is having transitive dependency. Okay, whether any of these functional dependencies are having transitive dependency. What is the meaning of transitive dependency is, if there is no transitive dependency, then one of these two conditions will be true. Okay, otherwise if this is false, then that means there is transitive dependency. So when you check here, okay, there is no transitive dependency. Okay, left hand side is a super key. It's a candidate key, so it has to be a super key. Left hand side of R1 is A, and A is the candidate key of R1. We have already found that. Okay, therefore it satisfies this condition. No transitive dependency here. Okay, no transitive dependency in the first functional dependency of R1. Take the second functional dependency of R1. Okay, so here you will see that both these conditions are not satisfied. Left hand side is also not super key. Okay, left hand side is not A, only there is one candidate key here, so therefore super key can also be only A actually. Okay, similarly right hand side is not a prime attribute. Okay, so therefore there is a transitive dependency here. Okay, so you need to break this transitive dependency. Okay, so again what you will do, you will take R1 and you will find out you will take this functional dependency, and what you will do, remove the transitive dependency. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, here we have already checked for R2 and R3 and we have seen that they are in BCNF. Okay, so we are only going to now take R1 and we are going to try to convert it to tree NF and BCNF. Also, we have already checked the two functional dependency of R1. A is not having any transitive, the first one is not having any transitive dependency. Second one is having. So let's remove the transitive dependency. How you remove it? Find out the closure of the left hand side, B closure. Okay, so when you find out the B closure, you will get B and C. So therefore you will put B and C into a new sub relation. Let's call it R11. Okay, and all the attributes of R1 which are not in R11, you will put it into R12. So R1 was having 4 attributes, A, B, C and D. So out of those 4 attributes, B and C go into R11 and R12 will get the remaining attributes. Okay, when you do this, you're not having any common attribute. Okay, you need to find a common attribute from this first set and put it into the second set. Okay, so find one common attribute from R11 which will be a super key and add it to R12. When you find out, you will find that B is the super key of R11. Okay, so you will add that B to R12. You will get the second relation as R12. Okay, here by mistake I mentioned this. You need to find from R11. Okay, or actually you could have found out from the other one and put to R11 also, but it's always we take it from the first set and we add it to the second set. Okay, so you will follow that only method. So you find out that B is the super key for this one and you will add it to the second set. So you will get the second relation as R12. So now we had got from R, if you remember from R, we had got R1, R2 and R3. Okay, R2 and R3 was in BCNF, so we keep this to the side, we don't do anything. Okay, R1 was not in BCNF, it was in second normal form, but it was violating third normal form. Okay, it was having transitive dependency. In order to remove transitive dependency, R1 has got divided into R11 and R1, 2. Okay, so this is where we have reached with respect to the problem. Okay, this R2 and R3 are already in the proper form, so we're not going to solve it further. There's no need to solve them further. They're already in BCNF. But this R1 now is getting divided into R11 and R12. And we need to solve now for R11 and R12. Okay, now we have already found out that R1 is in second normal form. Okay, we have already found out that R1 is in second normal form. There is no partial dependency. So there is no need to check for R11 and R12 whether they are in second normal form, because R1 is already in second normal form. So you're not going to check for R11 and R12 in second normal form. Okay, but you can start from here whether they are in third normal form. Getting what I'm trying to tell you? So let me just rub it off and continue. Okay, so now we're going to check for these two sub-relations that we obtained from R1, whether they are in third normal form and BCNF. Okay, so to do that, you have got new relations. So every time you get new relations, you need to find the functional dependencies for them. Okay, so you have got these two new relations or sub-relations from R1. So the functional dependencies have to be obtained from F1. Okay, remember you're not obtaining the functional dependencies from F. You got these two from R1, and the R1's functional dependencies are F1's. So you're going to find out the functional dependency for these two from F1. Okay, so follow the same method that I explained previously. So you're going to take R11. Okay, you have got B and C. Find the B closure. Okay, you can find the B closure. Find out the C closure. Okay, so C closure will give you C only. You can check, you can do and check. Okay, so this is trivial functional dependency, discard it. Okay, this will be B and C. B is trivial, discard it. So you get only B determines C. So you will get for R11, you will just get one functional dependency. B determines C. Okay, you can find out the candidate key for that. So the candidate key will be B only. You can find out. Okay, so therefore B determines, once you find out that B is the candidate key, obviously the left hand side is the super key. So you will conclude that R11 is in BCNF. Okay, you will directly conclude that R11 is in BCNF. Normally when we are having two attributes like this, okay, and we have already found out here, when you are finding out the closure here, we have found out that B is the super key. Okay, we have found out here. You could directly conclude that R1 was in BCNF. Okay, or you could find out using this previous method that I've already explained. There are two attributes. Find out the closures. There are no combinations of this in F1. Okay, there are no combinations in F1. This is the F1 here. This is the F1. Okay, so you will find that only one functional dependency is there. B determines C. Find out the candidate key. You will get B only, and you will claim that B is the left hand side of this R11. So you will therefore say that R11 is in BCNF. Similarly, you are going to find out for R12. Okay, R12. So R12 is having three attributes: A, D, and B. Find out the attribute closures for each one of this A, D, and B. Check if any combinations are there in F1. Okay, this is the F1. There is no combination. These are all single attributes here on the left hand side. Okay, so just going to find out for A, D, and B. You're going to find out like this: A, D, and B. Okay, you get A closure. You'll get A, B, C, D. Okay, A is a trivial functional dependency. You can discard A. Okay, then what you will see that C is not part of this. C is not part of this R12. So you will discard that C. What remains is B and D. So therefore you will get A determines BD. Okay. Similarly, when you take the next attribute B and you find out the closure, you will get B and C. It's trivial functional dependency, so you will discard B. C is not part of this R12. Okay, it's not part here. So you will discard this also. So you discard this entire thing. When you find out D closure, okay, you get only D. So you discard this. You find it. Okay. So there's only one functional dependency that remains for R12. That is this. So you can give it some name, F12. Find out the candidate key. You'll get a candidate key as A only. Okay. So this candidate key is the left hand side. Okay. So you can claim that it's a super key. So therefore you can claim that R12 is also in BCNF. Okay. So now there's nothing more to solve. Okay. R1 was divided into R11 and R12. We have already found out that R11 is in BCNF. We have found out that R12 is also in BCNF. Okay. So once you have found out, these are the final list of your relations. R2 and R3 we had already found out previously. These were in BCNF. And R1 got divided into R11 and R12. We found out that R11 is in BCNF and R12 is in BCNF. So these are your final relations in BCNF. So the problem that we were initially given to convert R from 1NF to BCNF, okay, that problem, the answer to that will be this.